All right, well, there's the pre-church hush. Y'all know what the pre-church hush is. Everybody gets it. It's the 1 minute before, That's all how it goes. Thank y'all so much for being here today. We're going to talk a little bit about, safety. I tried to say safety and scam. I didn't know any other way to put it in the announcements, but tech awareness, scams, that's about how, maybe you could say something technical like fraudulent activity, but that's all it is. It's just basically boil it down and it's all scams. And so that's what we're going to talk about today. And so we will have, anytime during this you have any questions, please raise your hand. Now we will have a dedicated time at the end. I'm not going to take up all the time, but we'll have a dedicated time at the end for question and answers. And in fact, if you want to ask sensitive questions and you don't mind people in here hearing it, well, I'll make sure that that's not on the video recording that we'll post on the web and stuff like that. And so if you want to ask any questions during what we're talking about or during the question and answer at the end, please do so. And I just want to say before we get started, I stand ready to assist you. I know that is opening me up for a lot of work, potentially, maybe, but at the same time, that is just fine. I spend more time on some of y'all's printers than I do on anything else. And so I'd be happy to help you out in something that actually matters. Not that printers don't matter, but at the same time, printers are the bane of my existence. But anyway, so let's start going here, and we're going to talk about being aware of these different things. Now, obviously, we kind of do need to do the preacher thing and define what a scam is. We know what a scam is, right? But if you put a definition behind it, if you think about it in a technical way, you start to understand it a little bit better. It's a dishonest scheme that uses fraudulent or misleading information. Sometimes it's not fraudulent. Sometimes it's completely true, except they put it a different way, right? They will mislead you to thinking something with accurate information. But it's designed, and I should have probably bolded this, designed to prey on your emotions and your logic, okay? And again, we know this, but we're going to talk about some of the specifics here, okay? Let's play a little game to start off with. True or false? True or false? Older people are more likely to fall victim to online scams. I knew that my word usage, I knew that no matter what I put up there, somebody would have been like, define senior citizen. Are you old enough to get a senior coffee? There we go. That's what it is. I would say older people, 70 and above, 65 and above, okay? Is this true or false? True? Who says false?
I said false.
You said false? You said false? What's the average age? 28 years old.
So where are our 28-year-olds? They think they know it all.
I invited them, Miss Judy. So maybe they'll be watching the video because that's what they do. See, there's the camera. That's what I was talking to. So, actually, and can you believe that I have been scammed twice?
No, I can't believe it.
Twice. Personally. Now, granted, it didn't cost me anything. It didn't cost me any money necessarily. Only cost a little bit of time and energy and things like that. But I have been scammed twice in the last 10 years. Pete.
Do the statistics, are there different types of scams that older people are more susceptible to?
I would say so, yeah. Yeah, I would say so. I would say that, and we're going to talk a lot about it, but the main type of scam that I want to talk to you about today is somebody calling on the telephone.
All the time.
All the time. Okay? So that's the main one. And you know what? Young people aren't susceptible to that scam because they don't answer their phone.
They don't have a landline.
I'll be honest with you, I don't ever answer my phone.
And I would tell them, all you guys need to put child controls on your phone.
Absolutely.
And then you don't get all those calls. I did that to my mom and dad and mom and Paul, and it was an answer to prayers because Paul answered every call.
Yeah, and I mean, and again, I don't want to, Pete, forgive me, But y'all grew up in a generation where only people that knew you had your phone, or they would look it up in the phone book, okay? And now every database on the planet has your phone number somewhere in it. There's no hiding your phone number. There's no hiding even, now listen to this, there's no hiding your Social Security number either. Nobody.
Never intended to be an identifier.
Exactly.
Forget the Social Security number. They're going to have it. They're going to use it.
It was never intended to be an identifier. Plus, you can't really do anything with your Social Security number these days anyway. So there's a whole set of things that I could probably list today that were things that you had to worry about 20 years ago that you don't really have to worry about now. And then on the other flip side of that, there's things that you got to worry about now that you didn't have to worry about 20 years ago. So again, a lot of stuff to take in. These slides and all the information and the recording will be available. I'm going to give you a website address on Graymere.com at the very end. And so you can take pictures of these slides if you want to, but I'm saying all the slides and all the video and all the links and stuff that I share will be on Graymere's website. So I'll share that at the end. So yeah, it's not just older people. In fact, that's a great question because I think younger people will be more susceptible to online scams, texting scams, things like that. Okay? Not necessarily phone call scams. Now, true or false, the FTC stated that scams cost the American people more than $10 billion. That's a lot of dollars in 2023. True or false? It's absolutely true. That's not hard, is it? But the number is what got me because I was thinking, 1 or 2 billion, 10. $10 billion. That's $100 million. That's crazy. That's a lot of money that people got scammed out of, okay? Do you know what the percentage of this is gift cards that people have bought? Because gift cards are largely untraceable. They're also because the credit card that you use to buy the gift cards for the scammer is probably not going to be reimbursed to you. We'll talk a little bit about that too as well, okay? Here's a question, not a true or false, but a question. What percentage of the population of the public have been affected negatively by scams or other fraudulent activity? If you don't think that you've gotten scammed, then you probably have and you just don't know it. Or your email has appeared in a scam somewhere. Or your phone number. Or you've been called. Or your contact information has been leaked from your phone. Or something, right? If you have not had direct kind of experience with that, then you're one of the fortunate ones, but I guarantee you've still been part of a scam, okay? Very interesting to think about. Now, it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. And so it's a matter of you being prepared to make sure that and really it doesn't have to do with honestly, a lot of this is technology. We think, I got to have all these technologies to stop it, and I got to have LifeLock, and I got to have all these things. Here's what you got to have. Think about this. Our two best weapons against scams are what? What do you think? Very simple. Self-control. You could kind of get into that. Common sense. And what's the other one? Time? I could argue that too. It's not what I've got up on the board, but knowledge. Knowledge could be that could go. I'm saying common sense and logic. Okay? Just think logically. Be Mr. Spock. Think logically about this for a second when it's happening, and most of the time you're not going to succumb to any of this kind of stuff. But here's the thing, some of these scammers are so good at what they do, they're designed to completely defeat your logic in the first sentence that they say. Okay? So if you have that in mind, mentally prepared for that, then you'll be much better equipped than a lot of other people, okay? This is what scammers try to do. They try to get you to become emotional. If they can get you emotional, that means that leads you to panic. And when you panic, what do? You make bad decisions.
I did 1 in 3 within 30 seconds of the call.
1 in 3 she just said 1 in 3 within 30 seconds. If y'all don't know, Miss Debbie is here, and Miss Debbie I would say she's the impetus of this, but she is one of the few people that I've talked to here at Graymere that have been directly impacted by a scam in the last few months.
This is my book, and I'll anybody, anytime to share any information because I know now how to be a terrorist. And I'm not kidding.
She had to go through all of her accounts, all of her investment accounts, all of her cell phone accounts, all of her Apple accounts. Everything had to be kind of built back up from the ground up. And it was
Training probably for 4 universities, the city of Columbia, and Murray County.
Yeah. Yeah.
It was number 1, and then the bad decision followed.
So they try to get you to give up things, sensitive information, credit card numbers. Just don't do it, especially over the phone. Just don't do it. Now, online is a little bit different. Online is a little bit different because you think you're on a secure web page and you're typing it out. That's a whole nother thing, right? But when you're on the phone and that person is saying some things like, we're with the IRS and if you don't make a payment by tomorrow, we're going to garnish your wages. we're going to take all the money from your bank account. We're going to repossess your house. All sorts of stuff, right? They will use all sorts of scare tactics to get you to comply with what they want to do. Oh, we need $200 in gift cards. And just think, why would the IRS want to be paid in gift cards? But when you're going through it, illogically you go, oh no. So again, that's what you got to think of. So emotion, panic, and that leads to bad decisions. Now, here's the thing. Can you spot a scam? There are a bunch of different types of scams, and these are not, nowhere in this class is this comprehensive. We're not going to cover everything today at all. But there are 3 different main types of scams that you probably will encounter. The first one is this, what's called a debt consolidation or something like this kind of scam. They said it would help me pay off my debt faster. I have succumbed to this scam. Now granted, it was only a half scam, but it was still a scam. Because I found out the company went out of business 6 months after I consolidated all of my student loans with them. They did it, and they did consolidate my loans, and it was good, and I have all of them consolidated still, but they charged me for it. It was something I could have done for free. $500. I'll never see that $500 ever again. So again, right here. And it was because they preyed on I was desperate to get it done. I was desperate to save money. Me and my wife didn't have a lick of sense without any of that kind of stuff. I didn't look up the company. That was the thing. There is a very good site that I'm going to share with you, the Better Business Bureau Scam Tracker. And if you will go visit that site, when you have a company that inquires something of you or you're working with them to do something or whatever like that, if you will do that, go to the Better Business Bureau Scam Tracker. They have a list of companies that have been reported as scams. If you get scammed, you can go there and report the name of the company that you have been scammed and help somebody else potentially. So it's a very, very good thing. Oh, they're coming in for practices and stuff. So it's very, very good website. So don't fall for this kind of debt consolidation. The other one is just the deals, right? The other one is just the deals. The deals, the online shopping scam, whatever you want to call it. There was a deal that's too good to be passed up. How many of you have ever used the site Temu? Temu.com. I have been tempted as well. Don't use it. It is run by the Chinese. I'm not a conspiracy theorist, but it is run by the Chinese. It is absolutely, you will fork over all your information to them. It is the worst scam site that ever was. Now you'll get some stuff, but it'll be junk. It's just junk, right? It's basically like a super cheap Amazon where the prices are too good to be true. And y'all are experienced enough to know if something is too good to be true, then it probably is, right? So just think about it before you do that. It's kind of this. It did seem like a real good deal. Just think, is it too good to be true? Yeah, it probably is. Temu, right? Temu. And don't even browse it, because you'll end up buying something. You'll be like, oh man, that thing's $1.43. Like, it's super cheap stuff. And I did a little experiment, and I did a $25 order on there. and they try to give you all these free things. And I set up a fake email address and used a fake name and tried to use, I even used a business address in town that I have as a P.O. box. And it was amazing tracking down where all that information went. So that's what nerds can do. But I'm just saying it was absolutely amazing to see what happened with all that. Okay? This one right here has gotten several people that I've talked to just in the last few months. There's a very urgent pop-up. You'll be cruising the web. You're looking on Graymere.com, and this guy, Chad Lemon, he has these amazing Bible lessons, and it pop up, and it says, you owe us $47 or else we're going to shut down your computer. You owe us $185 or else we're going to wipe your hard drive. Anybody ever experienced that?
Yeah, and they did.
And they did.
We didn't do anything. We had to crash and stop. This has been years ago when Kim was still here.
Your computer is actually a lot more secure than you think it is. Especially if it's a modern computer. If it's been bought in the last 5 years, it's probably a lot more secure than you think it is. If this happens on your iPad, if it happens on your iPhone or your Android phone, there is no, you just shut that app down and move on, because your security on these mobile devices are really, really good. Okay? We'll talk a little bit more about security, especially on Windows devices before. Pete.
Well, that's what happened to me. I was doing something, got one of these with the big screen ply computers, and it said $300 or whatever like that. Do not shut this down, otherwise.
Yeah.
And so I called my son. He said, just turn it off.
Yep.
Turn it back on.
Yep. That actually is a very good strategy. Just turn it off and turn it back on.
And our episode was prior to this kind of equipment. It was back on an older computer. Yeah.
But a lot of us, I still use a regular computer every day. And a lot of you still have regular computers at home, right? And so you've got to think about these things. And sometimes these things will just pop up. Even though you're running up-to-date stuff, you have an up-to-date browser, it's still going to pop up. Still happens sometimes. Best thing to do is either ignore it or force quit the application, force quit the thing, go down to, there's something on Windows called Activity Monitor. It's just an app that monitors everything on your computer. You go to that and you highlight the app that's in it and you just hit quit. Or you hit, what's the equivalent on Windows, Monty? Force... Control-Alt-Delete will do it too. Or you can force shut down everything and then go back fresh and start again too. So, yeah, it's interesting. This one can get a lot of people. But this is kind of this whole tech support thing. I knew a guy that was in an ongoing phone conversation with a guy for weeks. The guy would tell him to call him at a certain time and a certain day, and he baited him into giving him several $1,000s in gift cards again. Because gift cards are not easily traceable. Can't get the money back on your credit card, all sorts of different stuff. Okay? Other types of scams here. Text message scams. Every single one of us has probably gotten that text message scam of, you have a package waiting, right? And I'll be honest, that first time I fell for it because I get lots of stuff. And I was like, package wait, what in the world? Because there's actually other services like DHL. I get shipped stuff from overseas sometimes, and DHL will actually text you updates on but this one, there's a few things that you can look at as how they're literally written. So if you know how to proofread it all, you can see, well, that comma is out of place. They have an apostrophe in this thing where they shouldn't have an apostrophe. There's 2 or 3 spaces between this word, and it's weirdly formatted. Just make sure to look for that kind of stuff, because an actual company is going to, most of the time, is going to send you a legitimate kind of thing where they're going to, sorry, I'm looking at somebody at the TV studio back there. They're going to send you something that looks and is grammatically correct. My brother-in-law sold a laptop on eBay. This was 5, 6, 7 years ago. Sold a laptop on eBay for $1,000, or so he thought he sold it. And he had packaged the thing up, and dropped it off at the local post office. Luckily, it was a small town post office. And he sent me he sent me the email. He says, I got a weird feeling about this. I've already dropped it off, but would you take a look at this? And it was an email that was formatted that looked exactly like what eBay would send you when somebody has paid you. That guy did not pay at all. He had dropped off the laptop already and was shipping it to a guy in Texas. It wasn't like he was shipping it to Saudi Arabia. He was shipping it to a guy in Texas. And I told him, I was like, hey, you need to go back to the post office. You need to go get that laptop out. But I've already paid $20 to send it. I said, then you're out $20 instead of a $1,000 laptop. And he got his laptop back, but it was absolutely a scam. James.
Sometimes if I see them real long, I get skeptical.
Yeah. Real long text messages, you said? Yeah. That can be a telltale sign, but it sometimes isn't. If you just think about a receipt from CVS, that's legitimate. But if I add up 5 or 6 receipts of CVS from CVS, I could probably go from here to the moon on that, right? But if you think about it, I get prescription text messages that are longer than some that my wife send me, okay? And so that's not necessarily a telltale thing, but it could be. It could be. Sometimes the address is real long. Which reminds me of the next one. Email from a person that you know. I've probably gotten 5 messages from you guys that have said, hey, why did you send me this? I'm like, no, it's not me.
We got much from Terry Baker.
Terry Baker, yeah.
Here's some pictures you want to see, or here's this, or here's what.
That's when you don't open.
That's what you do.
And odds are, and again, the computers and security are so good these days that odds are if you do happen to open one of those things, then it'll be okay. Okay? So when you look at this, an email from a person you know, what they have done is that somebody has sucked up your contact list. And they have your contact list, and it's been dumped somewhere on the internet, because if you use a public service like Gmail, it's got to be stored somewhere on some server on the internet. So somebody has broken in, stolen that, and they have gotten all the natural full names, Shelley Sutherland, right? Now it may say Shelley Sutherland from Shelley Sutherland. These modern email apps, they don't want to show you the actual email. You have to click up there and see what the actual email of it was. It may say Shelley Sutherland on it, and then you click on it, and it says idsj@gmail.com. And you're like, what? Who is that? And so it's like one of those interesting things. So just make sure to verify that. And the best thing you can do right there is mark that as spam. Deleting does not mark things as spam. There is a button on Gmail, there's a button on popular email clients that says mark as spam. You need to kind of prioritize that and do that. Deleting it doesn't mark it as spam. But you actually mark it as spam. On my email apps, it's like a folder with an X on it. And it could be different for every email app. Does that make sense?
I still get those emails from Terry Baker all the time, and they're not from her, and I can't make them stop coming.
Have you marked them as spam?
How do you do that?
I think so.
It's different on what email service do you use? Gmail? So there should be a thing that allows you to report it as spam. If you right-click, if you're on the browser and you right-click on the email, it should have a little thing, an option to say report spam or mark it as spam. And it'll send it right to the spam folder. Now that doesn't mean that you're never going to see it again.
Send it to spam.
Right.
They're in my spam. How do I get them to stop coming at all?
That's a good question. If you mark it as spam enough on Gmail, it should learn, as long as it's from the same email address, it should learn that that's spam.
It does go to spam.
Okay, good.
I want to stop it from.
Why aren't you seeing it if it goes to spam then?
I check my spam when it says it's going.
Oh, no, don't do that. Don't do that.
Check the spam.
Don't look at it, because you can get...
And I delete it.
Delete it without looking.
I looked at my spam folder the other day as preparation for part of this class, and I even got blindsided by something that I thought was legitimate. And I was like, man, this looks real. Okay, I'm going to go to... And I checked it out, and of course it wasn't. But it was absolutely spam. Now, can your spam filter...
Just want to stop them from coming.
Right. Then, so Gmail's probably the best at stopping spam, but it's not perfect. But again, ask yourself, you are using an email client that is free, okay? And by free, in quotation marks, I mean to say Google is absolutely reading your email. They're absolutely pulling in and sucking in all your email and all the pictures and different things like that, and they're using that data. So if you want to use something, then pay somebody $5 or $6 a month and use a service called Fastmail or any of the other private email apps that you actually pay for. And that it should be open. It should be open. What? That door is open when it's supposed to be open and closed when it's supposed to be open.
Not till 5.
Well, it's supposed to be open at 4 o'clock until services, so I don't know. That's a scam. That's a scam is what it is. Yes, sir. Go ahead.
Explain that again. So if I have something that shows up in spam, and I just open spam to see what's listed there, that could cause problems? I don't open the...
It could. I don't know that it will, but it could. Because again, if you're on Gmail, every app that you open, or every email that you... Look at this guy. I'm doing something right now, buddy. Hey, boys. Hey, y'all go. Where are y'all going? Song leading? Where are you supposed to go?
Oh, wait, am I going song leading?
You're going to song leading. This is not song leading. They are so familiar with this church building. They just love it. But anyway, so yeah, it's very difficult to discern kind of what causes spam to come. I'll go through spells where I get a spam or email or two every day. And then I'll go through 6 months where I don't see one ever at all. I don't get it. So it's a matter of this kind of push and pull, give and take with these scammers being able to figure out how to get past Google's algorithm. And maybe they have an exploit that gets past some stuff sometimes. And it's kind of this tug of war, honestly, with all these companies trying to combat this stuff.
Well, I had an unusual situation this past week. I probably had a dozen emails that had no sender.
Like zero sender, huh?
No sender. Obviously, you always delete those. And Monty, you need to quit sending me some.
No, don't delete. Report them as spam. That's the key. Deleting them just says, I'm done with this and I'm deleting it. But when you say report them as spam or mark them as spam, then it will tell the system, this is spam, this is from a spam sender. I need to put it in the spam box and I don't need to let it into the inbox again. So you're kind of training it a little bit as well. But again, if you don't want to see any of that kind of stuff, pay for your own email, do fast mail, do something like that, because you'll never see any of that kind of stuff with paying $5 or $6 a month for it. Just a thought. Now, I don't pay for that, obviously. I use Gmail, but I know what the limitations of Gmail are, for sure. The gift card scams, of course, I've alluded to that several times, but the reason why scammers ask for gift cards is because they're largely untraceable, and you won't get your money back. Most of the time, most credit card companies will not give you your money back if you have bought gift cards. Sometimes, some will. Some very high-end credit cards will do that. They'll give you money back, but most of the normal credit cards won't do that. Does everybody understand that? Does anybody ever know anybody that's gotten kind of affected by a gift card scam, bought somebody? Yeah? Miss Donna? So it happens. Questions before we kind of move on? Okay. Now, this is where your logic comes in. Ask yourself, when this is happening to you, or when it does happen to you, did this person call me or did I call them? Was this an unsolicited phone call? Was this somebody that called me? Because if you called them, it's a whole different story. If you called Bank of America to just make a dispute on your credit card and you give them your username, you're talking with an actual rep, then that's a little bit different, right? But if that person called you and said, we're from Bank of America, we have a $44 bill here that you need to pay by tomorrow or we're going to shut down your bank account. First of all, that's not how things work normally. They don't call the day before, right? What's the old joke? If you ever feel like you're alone, just don't make a house payment and somebody will call you about it, right? They will call you when you are past due on that thing and get you. They will call every day. So again, when you call them, it's different than them calling you. Did this person tell me not to tell anybody else about this? The last person I talked to that was scammed, this is how they were scammed. They said, don't you tell anybody else about this. Well, that's kind of weird, right? Bank of America, who else? Any of these other reputable, Verizon Wireless, they're not going to call you and be like, hey, by the way, don't tell anybody else that we talked. They're not going to say that, okay? And then obviously the telltale is, did this person threaten me? This person say, well, I'm going to, or we're going to have to, you better make this payment now or we're going to have to, and they attach some threat to it. That's a telltale sign, okay? Comments, questions?
What about Costco?
Costco, what about them? I love it. They got great hot dogs.
But are the people using them for scam purposes?
Oh, absolutely. In fact, if there's a big company or corporation on the planet, they're probably using, some type of person has called. In fact, when Miss Debbie was scammed, it was a guy from Verizon Wireless who called and said, your cell phone bill is past due, $44. $44! And she said she panicked and she just gave him all sorts of information. Now, I do want to say, what they are depending on today, the security and passwords, and something I'm going to talk about, two-factor authentication. The two-factor authentication and all the security measures that you have to do. You ever signed into something and then another device says, hey, you got to verify on this device so that that's called two-factor authentication, okay? So the security is so good that what these criminals, what these scammers have resorted back to is just calling you on the phone and getting you to give up those usernames and passwords, okay? There's two things that I want you to make sure that you're paying special attention to, and I think it's the next slide. I'm not real sure. Okay, I got things not to do and things to do. We'll get to that. There's a lot of information. Sorry, let's keep going. Things not to do. Don't give out usernames and passwords. Now, if you call Bank of America and you want to get something resolved with them, they will probably ask you for a username or an account number or something like that, right? Unless it's attached to your phone number, which they would already know and they can pull it up and everything like that. Most of the time, they will never ask for a password. Nobody is ever going to ask for a password unless they are doing high-level tech support with you. Unless Rick Combs is at your house working on your computer, right? There is no need to give anybody any password, okay? Because if you do that, how Miss Debbie got in so much trouble is she gave this guy a username and password, and she only gave him 2 accounts. 3 accounts was all she gave him usernames and passwords to. Completely derailed her life. Does anybody want to guess what those 3 accounts were? They weren't bank accounts. Anybody want to guess? Email. Main email. It wouldn't be a bad idea to set up a what I call a burner email that you can use at, Belk and Academy Sports and any of those places, right? Forward them to your actual mail, but don't let them touch your real email. Main email account they got access to. What else? Her Verizon account. They had her phone shut down inside of an hour. She came to me and her phone had SOS on it. It didn't have a cell phone signal at all. And I'm like, what? Who did you talk? And I was just trying to piece together what happened. And she's like, I don't know. And she was obviously panicking. And he had logged into her Verizon account and deactivated her phone. Just like that. She had no phone. So that meant that everything she had to do she couldn't call anybody. She couldn't call tech support or anything like that. She could use the Wi-Fi on her phone. But then the guy had went into her Apple ID and reset her Apple ID as well. The Apple ID on your iPhone, the Google Play ID on your Android phone controls everything on that phone. Everything. From your photos, to your notes, to your music, to the apps that you've downloaded, to the credit cards that you've got attached to it. Everything. It is a little bit scary. But Apple and Google are really good, and they have gotten really good at protecting these things and keeping these things from happening. In fact, Apple has come up with a pretty interesting security measure. So if this would have been turned on for Miss Debbie, none of this stuff would have happened to her, which is very interesting because in the latest update, they had actually come up with it. What time is it? Okay, 17:05. They had come up with this thing called device security, user-located device security. You can go on your phone if it's running the most up-to-date operating system, which you should always do, and you can enable that now. And what that will do is it will allow the person, even if Miss Debbie panicked and gave this guy username and password for her Apple ID, guess what? If that guy's in Atlanta, Georgia, or Houston, Texas, or Riyadh, Saudi Arabia, or wherever he is, he tries to log into her account and change settings, guess what? It's going to know where he's logging in from and say, no, you can't do that for 1 hour. And it gives her 1 hour to resolve this. That 1 hour would have made all the difference in the world. It is based upon the location of the device. In fact, when the phone learns, your iPhone learns where home and work are, or home and church, or common places that you are at 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 times a week, it will allow you to make those changes, but anything outside those geolocated areas, it will not allow you to make those changes. Even yourself. So if you're at your daughter's house and you haven't been there in 6 months, and you go to change your Apple ID password, it's going to say, we need you to wait an hour because you're not in a location that is normal to you, which is really, really cool. So we'll go over that, and that's a setting inside your iPhone in iOS 17.3. I know that sounds really technical, but that's one of those things that's going to help you out a lot if somebody was to get your information. What do you call it?
Again, what that's called?
Let me give you, I don't want to say it the wrong way. Let me give you the technical thing. Let me look it up after we're done here. But it's in your settings. It's location, I forget what it's called, location-based security or something like that. Okay? But anyway, there's a couple of different security measures that you can enact as well. Now, obviously, don't give out usernames and passwords. Don't give out credit card or bank account info unless you were the one who solicited the call. Now, if you called them, then that's a little bit different. But if they call you and they're misrepresenting themselves, if they're saying they're from Bank of America or Verizon Wireless or something like that, then you need to be wary of it. Don't just hang up. If somebody starts getting hostile with you at all, just hang up. If somebody starts asking you for stuff that sounds fishy, just hang up. The worst they can do is call you back, and then guess what? If they call you back and they start to be predatory, there's this little feature. You can just block caller. That's all you got to do. Report as spam. You'll never see it again. Okay? Yeah, they'll go to the next one on the list, unfortunately, right? Because they've got a list of probably 3 or 4 million phone numbers that they can just exploit. Isn't that weird? Y'all have sequential phone numbers? Yeah. If you have sequential phone numbers, then that's what'll happen. That's so strange. So, let's call the same person with the same last name. Oh, okay, whatever. Same location. Same area code. Don't try, and this is a hard one right here. Don't trust anyone that you don't know personally. And again, I can say y'all because the average age in here is probably mid-60s or upper, higher than that. Y'all grew up in an area of the country and in a time where it was just natural to trust, right? Natural to trust the people that lived in your neighborhood, the people that were calling on the phone. You trusted what was written in the newspaper. And even that has changed, right? Used to. So again, really just have the attitude of don't trust anyone that you don't know, okay? Or anybody that is posing as somebody that you don't know. Here's things to do. Now, this is probably the most technical slide on the thing. So if you don't understand any of this, I'll be happy to help you out with any of these things. Two-factor authentication. Who knows what that is? Okay. If you don't know what it is, then I'm going to assume that you don't have it enabled. Okay? That's okay because there's something better that is being implemented literally as we speak, and it's called passkeys. Can anybody tell me the difference between a password and a pass key? Anybody tell me the difference? Have you ever seen an app or a service ask you to create a pass key? Okay, did you do it?
No.
You didn't do it because you didn't know what it was, right? They're not really good at explaining it. Hey, you want to create a pass key? Well, they're not really good at explaining it. Okay? What a pass key is, and I will tell you from a tech perspective, if any app asks you to create a pass key, please do it. Because what it is and let me say this in, I guess, the least technical way I can. It's a biometric authorization. When you put your phone up to your face and it unlocks your face, that's called a biometric authorization. It knows what the points on your face is. Nobody else has your face. At least I hope they don't. And nobody else has your face, so it's going to unlock your phone because it saw your face. It was thumbprints before that. Some of you may have the phone that still has the thumbprint, which is completely fine. But a passkey is specifically tied to that device. So unless somebody steals your device and steals your face, they can't access anything that you have. The big companies, Amazon, Apple, Google, you kind of have to dig for them nowadays, and it's not really automatic. But let me tell you something, in the next year or two, passkeys are going to become a very, very big thing. And so if you ever get the opportunity, if Amazon, Apple, Google ever asks you to create a passkey, do it. Now, I know what your next question is. Well, what if I get a new phone? If you get a new phone, you will have to create a new passkey. And it's just as simple. When I've created the passkey, it says, do you want to create it? Yeah. I'll hit yeah, and it will scan your face and say, okay, we created the passkey. Thank you very much. And so nobody without my face and my phone can do that. Okay?
So the passkey is your face.
Exactly. That's a great way to put it, Miss Linda. Your passkey is your face. Period.
So when they ask me to create a passkey, that's what they're asking me to do.
Correct. Now with Apple, I can't speak about Google and Android phones, and there's nothing wrong with Google and Android phones, but I do know that Apple, those biometric data does not leave your phone. Does not leave your phone. When you authorize with Google, even though Google is just, they want to suck up every bit of data that they can on you, your biometric data does not leave your phone.
So what's going to happen when you die? And you're trying to get it, or someone's trying to,
So,
getting my mom's stuff done.
So I'm glad that you asked about that because there is a feature inside of settings that actually was added in the last, I think, 6 months or the last OS update on iPhones at least. And I forget what the technical name of it is, but it's basically a way after death, a contact that you can put in there, or 2 or 3 contacts that you can put in there, to when you die, it will send a message to them granting them access to your all of your data, basically.
I'm like going to be able to get my dad.
Absolutely. Well, there was a girl back in 2012, I was at Church Street, and the youth deacon that I served under, he got cancer and passed away. His daughter was 17 years old. She had his iPad. She took it to the Apple store. Did not know the passcode to it. They said, we can't do anything for you. And it's not because they didn't want to. It's because they built a device that's that secure. She had to send it with a death certificate off to Cupertino, California, and get them to unlock it and send it back. And so, again, it was it used to be a big hassle, but now, I forget what it's actually called. It's a migration of data to where you can have access to all their data, and it's a secure contact kind of form that they can do inside their phone. So it's really, really handy. Absolutely. And it's on the phones right now, so it's probably been in there since iOS 16. We're on 17 now. I think it's been in there since 16. So yeah, I'll get you that as well. The second thing on here, enable Windows Defender. How many of you have a PC, not a Mac? A PC in your home, a laptop, a Windows computer? Okay. If you regularly use one of these Windows computers, and that's fine. There's plenty of people that still do, even though the 28-year-olds will tell you that's not what they're using, right? But you probably don't need an antivirus program. A lot of y'all kind of do this when I say that. I don't need an antivirus? No, because antivirus programs are a joke today, okay? All they want is their $119 a year, and they really don't do a whole lot. What you can do is you can go into Windows Defender. If you have a little search bar down on your Windows machine, you can literally type in Windows Defender, and it's built into every PC after Windows 10. And it is a very, very good spam protection, spam filter. It's a very good malware detector, adware detector, all sorts of different stuff. Now, it may not be able to remove it necessarily. You may have to have a special app for that if you get that on your system. But Windows Defender is very, very good. Windows Defender is the little yellow and blue shield that pops up every time that you do something. When you try to change some information somewhere or authorize something or download something, it pops up and says, do you really want to do this? And that's Windows Defender. So again, iPhones, iPads, Android devices, you don't really need to worry about that. Not to say they're impervious, because they're not. But the security on those devices is so much better because they're built on much more recent architecture. Does that make sense? Windows PCs have to support stuff back to the 80s, okay? Because there's literally still software that power companies are running on, that oil rigs are running on, that was built in the 80s and 90s, okay? And so they have to support stuff way back then, but these new things they were built in the last 10 or 15 years. So they're going to have much more robust security, okay? Not to say they're impervious again, but they're very good. And if you want to, I guess you can put an asterisk near this one, but if you want to use a password manager, such as 1Password, you can create and manage unique passwords for kind of every account that you have. Before the phone, you ever tried to sign into an app on your phone and it pops up the password at the bottom and you just tap on it and it autofills your password? That's a good password manager. In fact, your iPhone has a really, really good password manager right inside of it, so you probably don't need 1Password. But if you realize that you want a little bit more extra security, you want to be able to create new passwords that are good, that you don't have to remember, literally 1Password is just, you have to remember one password and you can get into all of your other passwords, okay? If you are like most people and you have the same password for everything, I'm giving you the stern look now. Please don't do that. At least you can have your password be the same for, Belk and Academy Sports and all that stuff, right? But at least for the very important accounts, your main email account, your credit card accounts, your bank account stuff, have unique passwords for those. Some of the best passwords are not a bunch of word vomit and lowercase letters and special characters and just looks like nothing. Some of the best passwords are honestly nonsensical phrases with a number attached to them, okay? So if I was to say, brown chair, shoelace, green shirt, 1, 2, 3, exclamation point. That's a much better password than a 12-digit, hexadecimal password, okay? Because that is harder to figure out, plus it's got more long letters, plus it's easier to remember as well. And you know what I've been saying, and this kills me to say, but if you're not going to use a password manager, at least write them down on a piece of paper like Ferris Bueller, okay? Write them down on a piece of paper and keep that piece of paper in a safe. That's actually more secure, honestly, than using the same password for every single account that you have. Got it? Questions? Yes, ma'am.
I have all my passwords on an Excel sheet, and it's kept on my computer. They can't get to that though, can they? That's in the file.
If it's on any type of digital data, if it's on a hard drive, if that hard drive is attached to the computer, they can get on it. Now, granted, that's not the first place a scammer is going to go. They're not going to go, ooh, I wonder if Shelly has all her passwords in an Excel spreadsheet. They're not going to do that necessarily. The odds of somebody finding that are slim to none, but at the same time, they're not zero. But I tell you what is zero, unless somebody physically comes into my house and knows the combination for my safe, or knows the code for my safe, or knows where I put my password or what notebook I have it in, unless they know exactly where to go, they're not getting my passwords, right? So honestly, I used to make fun of those little books that had write down your passwords in them. I used to make fun of those a lot. And now we've gone back to the time where it's like, okay, well, that's actually not a bad idea if you keep it in a secure place, for sure. Because somebody that doesn't have physical access to that is not going to know your passwords. That makes sense? Okay. Questions? Is this information overload? A little bit?
Where do you get one password?
Anywhere. It works anywhere. It works on Android phones, works on iPhones, it works on Windows.
How did she find it?
App Store. You go to you have an iPhone, you go to the App Store. Now it is a paid app, but anything that you pay for, they've got very good encryption. They've got a very long and good track record. I've been using them for 10 years. Okay?
So you just buy it one time?
It is a subscription. Everybody, you know how everybody has moved to the subscription. You used to be able to buy it one time, and then you'd have it for several years, but then people moved to subscriptions. I think it's something very low, like $3.99 a month or something like that.
Because I have Dashlane.
Okay. I haven't heard of anybody using that in a long time. But that's okay. Yeah, if it works for you. And again, if you have a system, don't nuke and pave and rebuild a system from scratch just because I said something today. But make sure that your passwords for your most important accounts are really good passwords and they're unique. That's all I got to say. Because here's the thing. I've got a 40, and this is probably crazy. I got scammed the second time I got scammed. Not the student loan scam, but the other scam that I got scammed with was clicking something in an email, and then it compromised my email and emailed everybody else and compromised all their emails. And it was. I remember the day I was at Friedharben lectureships when it happened, and I would get phone calls from people that hadn't called me in years, and they're like, "Hey, what's this email I got?" And it's not allowing me back in my email account. It locked like a dozen people out of their email accounts. Well, I was fast enough to change my password. Since that day, I've had a 40-digit passcode to my main email account that everything is tied to. If somebody walked up to me and put a gun to my head and said, "Give me your password to your email," I'd be like, "I guess I'm a dead guy," because I don't know what it is. I can probably give you the first 9 or 10 digits, and then after that, forget it. So it's one of those things like you don't even want to be... Take that out of the equation when somebody calls, "I need your email password." "Well, I don't know my email password." "Well, you don't know it?" "Yeah, I literally don't know it." So you're not getting it. Seems like pretty good logic to me.
Then how do you put it in if you don't know it?
Well, 1Password has a very nice autofill thing. And when I click on it, see, I have a very short password that I can get into my main password database. Okay? And if it's not running on the right device, somebody can't just download 1Password across the world and go, "Ooh, I wonder what Chad's 1Password is," and try to hack it. They can't do that. It's literally tied to my devices, and it's got all sorts of encryption inside of it that does that. So when I hit that one little short password, it grants me access to copy and paste those passwords, but also it's also secured into browsers to where when I go to sign on to Facebook, it'll pop up and say, "Do you want 1Password to sign into Facebook?" You click it, and then I have a fingerprint scanner on my laptop. I have to authorize it, boop, and it goes, and it puts it in there for me and logs me in. That's how it does it. Biometrics. It's the new thing, right? All right, let's move on. Here's the thing. If something has happened to you, if you feel like you've been scammed, this is what you need to do. You need to act as soon as you can. In fact, I would dare say immediately. Some of these guys, within minutes, are able to change passwords that you wouldn't even know where to go to change your passwords. They know exactly where to go, and within 3 or 4 or 5 minutes, they have changed 3 passwords if they have access to your email. That's why I say your main email account you should have a really, really good password for it. Because if somebody gets into your main email account that's attached to everything else, then they can get into everything else by going and just saying, "Forgot password, forgot password, forgot password," and it sends them a request to the email, and they hit it, and then they change your passwords. You don't want to be able to do that. Okay? The second one is when it happens, and this is so important. This is a very important step. I've got some cards here that you can take home. You can put beside your phone. You can put them on your fridge, whatever you'd like to do. But kind of walk backwards through what just happened. Because every person that I've talked to who has been scammed, it's a traumatic thing. When you're in a car accident, God forbid you're in a car accident, you're foggy. You don't remember exactly what happened. It's a traumatic kind of thing. And so when this happens, get a pad and paper out and go, okay, this is what they got access to. This is what they got. This is what they did. And I don't know what to do right now, but I'm just going to call Chad. Right? And so if I have that information, that means that information is power. I can work backwards with you and help you solve your problem. In fact, Rick Combs can do that, or any number of people can do that with you if you have some sort of record of what they got access to. Okay? Again, contact anyone technically inclined, hint, hint, wink, wink, right, who can help you. In fact, they don't have to be technically inclined. A lot of younger people here at the church would love to help out and are very much technically inclined. They know the ins and outs of these phones and iPads better than I do. Okay? So again, get someone to help. It can be embarrassing. It can be demeaning, but get somebody to help. Okay? Questions? Y'all have asked a bunch of questions already, but here we go. This is the dedicated Q&A session. We are at 5:25. We've still got several minutes. Yes, James?
The phone rings. Don't know who it is. I say hello. The conversation starts and I hang up. Did I make a mistake?
You shouldn't have answered it to start with.
Yeah. Shouldn't have answered it to start with, maybe? And if you hung up for a reason, right? Oh, this person is trying to get something out of me. Oh, this person asked for something that they shouldn't ask for. This person had a hostile tone with me. Whatever. Don't ever feel bad for hanging up. Don't ever feel bad. Because if it's truly important and it's legitimate, then they will call back. And if it's really illegitimate, they will leave you a message, right? Just miss a payment and see who calls you. You know how that goes. Just miss a payment and they will call and they will leave messages and they will not leave you alone. Okay? Yeah, so I'd say don't ever feel bad for hanging up on somebody. Now don't hang up on Rick Barker if he calls you. But seriously, don't answer. I wouldn't even bother to answer any phone number that you don't know what it is. Okay? Other questions?
Could you explain what these little codes are? These QLs, is that what you call them?
QR codes.
Can people get information off of them? Like we
No.
got one from the pharmacy,
Okay.
when Earl picked up his medicine.
Okay.
It's got two different ones on it.
Okay.
If somebody scanned those, what would they get out of those?
It's
Or
gonna
would
go-
they get anything?
It's going to go to a link. It's basically all it is a link. It's going to go to an app to download. It's going to go to a web page. It's going to go to, whatever. It's going to just
They
go to
cannot
a
get
place.
your personal information.
No, ma'am. No, ma'am. Unless the only way I think that they would be able to use a QR code is not the way that they would use a QR code, because they would have to steal your information and then put it somewhere on the internet and then have a QR code to where somebody could scan it and get that. And they're not going to do that. They're just going to send that directly, or they're going to send the link. So yeah, the QR codes there's nothing to worry about with QR codes. They always point to basically they're just pointers on the internet to be able to not have you type in something on those. And you're seeing those increasingly around. We're using those a little bit more around the building for stuff.
A few days ago, but something to do with them, that if you scan them, you can get in trouble.
Now it could take you to a place that you don't want to go to, obviously, or it could take you to a malicious website, but it's not going to steal your information necessarily unless your phone, because if you're doing it with your phone, last I checked, you're not taking your whole laptop up to a QR code and scanning it with the webcam, right? That's a little bit different. Your phone, though, will immediately alert you. No, you don't want to visit this website. You scan that QR code and you go, and you click that link, and it'll pull up that web page and go, nope, you can't go to this web page. It's part of the dark web. It's part of, this malicious website. We've got it on this list. We got it on this list. Whatever. It's not going to allow you to do that. So that's at least a good thing for the most part. That's a very good question, though.
Don't you have to have a setting on your phone to make it do that?
No.
There is a setting in security that,
You can make it more. You can go a higher level with it, but by default, most phones are set to where a fraudulent website or a spam website or something like that is not going to open on your phone. Unless you go through probably 3 or 4 prompts to say, yes, I want to open this. Yes, I want to open this. Yeah, because especially Apple is going to be like, are you sure? Are you sure you want to open this? That's a telltale sign. If something's asking you over and over again, now are you sure? It's probably not a good idea to open that. Monty.
Also, with the new iOS update for Apple, you can now go into, I think it's privacy, but you can click a thing saying if the number is not in your contacts, it'll automatically send it to voicemail, and it won't even ring your phone.
That is a good feature. However, I don't have it enabled because a lot of the people won't leave messages with me. They'll go find another way to send me a message, you know what I mean? And so when you get a lot of phone calls from people that you don't know, that doesn't work for me because I've missed phone calls from people from churches that are calling me about something or whatever, and I don't have their phone number. So that was an annoying feature to me. At least let me see what it is. Ring my phone, but don't let it. So yeah, but if you are probably normal and you don't want to get those phone calls, then absolutely you can do that. It's under privacy, and it won't even ring your phone. And again, if it is important, they will leave a message. Yes, ma'am, Miss Beth.
is it good to do these cleanup apps
On your computer?
on my phone? Sometimes it'll come up and say you can clean up.
No, ma'am. That is not even a thing.
But it's from Apple.
Is it? Is it? If it's not on the App Store, which was okay, so I will back up. There was a fraudulent app that was on the App Store for 6 hours last week and managed to get over 10,000 people's information before it was shut down by Apple. Now, why was that the case? Well, there's supposed to be human beings at Apple that are actually looking at every app, but it's just it's a matter of volume. There's thousands of app submissions every day, and they can't possibly look at every single one, and so this one slipped through the cracks. That's what's going to happen. Now, I will say on your phone, there's no reason to do any kind of cleanup or anything like that. There is a couple of apps that will do things with your photos, that will do things like remove duplicates or remove screenshots from your photo library. There's a couple of cleanup apps that will actually clean up and remove duplicates from your contacts. But most of those are pretty well-known apps and they're pretty good. You still have to be pretty observant and pretty discerning when you're downloading, even from the Apple App Store, because sometimes they will advertise and say, oh, we'll do this for you, and then they'll say, well, we need to charge you $1.99 to do that. And it's like, no. I was on a website the other day, and I wanted to do one of these personality tests. We were sitting around the fire outside at my in-laws' house, and we're all talking about these personality tests. And I go pull one up, and I'm thinking, I get all the way through the thing, and it says, hey, to see your results, we need $3. And I was like, oh, and even I fell for it, right? And so it's that kind of thing. You always got to be discerning, but they really kind of lead you on some of those things as well. Other questions? Yes, ma'am.
I don't know where I got it, but something had me go on my settings to security and then turn off a journaling suggestion.
Yes. Now that is an Apple app that was brand new on the new update, and that's just a setting for an app. I saw that on Facebook the other day. They want you to journal now or something. I don't know what that is, and you can actually, that's just a disabling of a notification. That's all that is. And anytime you want to disable notifications, you can go to your app, your settings app on your phone, and you scroll all the way down to where you get to It says passwords, mail, contacts, calendar, notes, reminders. Those are all your Apple, quote unquote, Apple apps. But then there's another section that goes to the apps that are not Apple apps. So I've got Ascend, Federal Credit Union. I've got Applebee's, Apple Store, Amazon, Acorns, Bible app, Betterment, all sorts of different things on there. And I can go into each individual app and see what they have access to. I can see what if they have access to my location, my live activities, access to my cellular data, all sorts of different things. So you can spend hours just looking at what apps have access to what. Normally when I download a new app, or something asks me to be able to send you notifications, I just say no. Don't allow. I hit the don't allow button because I don't want to see it. I don't want my phone to be buzzing nonstop. I don't want those little red circles on every single app. I don't need it. I don't need that stress in my life, right? And so the less my phone beeps and buzzes, the better. And so you can go and turn off every single one of those. The only app I have for notifications, phone and text message. That's it. I don't even get a message when there's a tornado warning, right? Everywhere.
Where do you turn it on?
So you can go to, there's a couple of different places. You can go to the settings app, and you can go down to, it's very close to the top, it says notifications. And that is every app. It has a listing of every app and what notifications they can send to you. You can turn every single one of them to off if you want to. And live in bliss. Fred and then Jerry.
Is it the same for location services and tracking as well? Turn all that off or leave it on?
So I have location turned on for maps, for stuff like that. I have location turned on for weather. So a couple of those apps, yeah, leave it on. But Twitter or whatever it's called, X, does not need to know my location. And even our own Graymere app really doesn't need to know my location, right? Facebook most definitely does not need to know my location, okay? So at the same time, you need to be discerning with that and figure out what apps you're actually using versus what apps actually, they just want location data so they can suck in more data on you. That's all they want. So that's what I would do. I would go in there and kind of audit all those things. Jerry and then Monty.
This is what's scary. If you're on Facebook and you go to settings and you go to blocking and you type in following me, there are hundreds and hundreds of people listed that are following you. And you have to go in and block each one individually. But you are being followed. And it is scary how many are on there.
You can have a setting to where say that I don't want anybody following me. You can do that. And I don't quite know the difference between being a friend of the person or following that person. Like, what's the distinction there? Are they my friend if they're following me, or are they following me because they're my friend? I don't understand that. Guess what? Facebook is awful and evil, and you should take it off of your phone. That's what I say. Facebook hasn't been on my phone for years. It's awful. It's terrible. Terrible for data. It's terrible for data security. It sucks your battery life dry. If you delete Facebook today, your battery will last twice as long on your phone. No joke. I am not joking about that. Facebook is terrible in almost every conceivable way. And I know, and I'm saying that because I know that the age of people that I'm looking at, that is what your primary news source is it not? No? Thank goodness, Miss Paula. Thank goodness. But yeah, it's just stuff, Jerry just pointed out something so obvious. It's just like that. Why would Facebook not tell you that those people are following you? Why would they not do that? It just gets all over my skin. Can you tell I don't like Facebook? Can you tell?
How do you delete it?
Delete Facebook? On the iPhone, it's very simple. You just hold that button until they all start to jiggle, and then you hit that little X, and it's gone. And it's gone.
How do you get your posts about your grandkids and stuff that you want to send while
You look at them on your laptop. That's what I do. The only time I look at it is on a browser on my computer, and that's it. And I use Safari on a Mac because Safari doesn't allow Facebook to do all of its tracking and things like that. I do not want Facebook knowing that I'm shopping for a couch. I don't want it. It's crazy, but I'm telling you, you think Facebook is fine. Facebook is the worst app out there for data security and data privacy. It is the worst. They give the politicians the most money, so they'll shut up about it. You just go fact check all the stuff I'm saying. I'm not saying anything that's not true. Sorry, I didn't mean to badmouth Facebook and step up on this soapbox and just get all over it, right? But it's just stuff like what Jerry said, that they just don't inform you. They don't tell you what they're doing. They don't have any kind of data privacy. They suck every bit of data and location data that they possibly can. Have you ever wondered why when you've talked to somebody about something and then it pops up as an ad on Facebook? You ever wondered about that? They're not recording your voice. They didn't record what you said because they don't have to. Because they know that if my phone has Facebook on it and Francis's phone has Facebook on it, they know we're in the same room together. They know that you and I are in the same room together. They know that she went and shopped for a couch down at whatever place, that Nashco or whatever it is down there. And I went, yeah, that's not a good place to go, is it? And I went and looked at a place down there, and they're going to serve me ads based upon that and say, well, this is what we think that you know. And it's deadly accurate. And that is just an invasion of privacy that I do not want in my life. I know Facebook is not tracking me when it shows me nonsensical ads for stuff. When it shows me ads for like fish. I don't like fish. I don't eat fish. I don't have a pet fish, right? When it shows me ads for that, I know that it's not tracking me. But when it shows me ads for things where I go, oh, that looks really interesting, then I know that it's tracking me. Pete.
Now, this is going to sound strange. I don't think it's quite like that. But we were at a friend's house probably a year ago, 3 couples. And we were talking about RVs. And during our conversation...
What was that? What was that Facebook? You talking about RVs? Facebook? Yeah, okay.
With them turned on. And, you know, and we get a text, somebody gets a text about purchasing RVs.
Mm-hmm.
And we're just sitting there talking about them. Well, I don't know what...
Did you know that 18 months ago, Samsung and Vizio had to be taken to court because their TVs were found to be recording things from your living room?
Yeah, in my living room.
Vizio was bought by Walmart last week. Did you know that? So Walmart can increase their ad revenue and serve you ads on your Vizio television. Don't buy a Vizio television. That's automatically right now. I'm not buying a Vizio television. I won't buy a Samsung either, for the very fact that they have no data security whatsoever. Now, granted, I sound incredibly pessimistic and negative. I understand that. Y'all were the ones that asked me about Facebook, though. So Jerry did it. It's Jerry's fault. There is so much to be afraid of out there, and there's so much to be mad about out there. But here's the thing. You can control all this stuff. You can do it. And it's actually, I wouldn't say it's actually very easy. If you're if you're halfway paying attention with scams, if you're halfway paying attention to what you're doing with your technology, it's actually quite easy to manage it. It really is. Monty.
For those of you that have Apples, and it may be true for Androids as well, a lot of times when you turn things off, when they do an update, some of that gets defaulted back to on, and you just have to go through it after each major update to make sure things are still turned off. At least that has happened to me.
So, yeah, sometimes that has happened in the past. But I think enough people have been mad about that Apple doesn't do that with system settings anymore. Now, Facebook will absolutely they'll do it every week. You'll go in there and say, I don't want people following me, and then Facebook will run an update, and you'll refresh your browser one day and get on Facebook, and suddenly that little box is ticked again, and you didn't untick it. And so it's one of those types of things. So yeah, that's a very good point to make. Now, considering Apple is very concerned about your privacy, Monty. Did you know that? Apple cares about your privacy. Did you know that? Yet they allow the Gmail, the Google app, the Facebook app, all sorts of, they allow those apps on their platform, but they're concerned about your privacy. You hear the sarcasm there? They're all about your privacy until it affects their bottom line. And when it starts affecting their bottom line, then they start to make things and they start to move in directions that you don't want them to move in. Like putting out a new update and saying, oh, well, we turned this on for all users because we think it would enhance your experience. I don't want to be reminded that I need to journal every day on a new app that you put on my phone that I didn't ask for. Right? So it just, makes a lot of sense. And you make a really good point, Monty. Any other questions? We're about to wrap up here. It's 5:45.
What was the name of that email we're supposed to get besides Gmail?
You can try fast mail. That's just one of the many private email servers. Now, it is not, I wouldn't say it's not easy. It is just as easy as Google to set up, but then you've got to figure out how to use it as your main email because it doesn't, for Gmail, I know that I can sign into Gmail on anything. But if I'm running something like Fastmail, that's not necessarily going to be supported on my phone or my iPad or things like that. So that's another thing that you've got to think about from that private email perspective. Because the main stuff like Gmail, that's going to be supported everywhere. But it's just a thing and they'll give you a trial. They'll give you like a 14-day, 30-day trial or something. And if you don't want to use it, then just delete your account and be done with it. But it's always something to look into if you want to. Okay, you don't need to take a photo of this because I've got, If you go to graymere.com/online safety, I built a page for y'all this afternoon. There are some resources that you can look up. I'm going to ask y'all to pass these out. This is just a little card that you can keep near your phone or keep it on your fridge or whatever you would like to do. I gave you like a whole big stack of them, didn't I? I'm sorry.
I'll put them on all the chairs.
You can put them on all the chairs. 3 of these.
Just two.
This is going to kind of be one of those, I wanted to be really cool and do like fridge magnets or something, but I didn't have enough time to do that necessarily. And if you go to graymere.com/online safety, you're going to see that there is a link to there. We're going to have the video. If all of y'all are okay with me posting the video that we did today, then I'll go ahead and post that to YouTube on our YouTube channel. And we can have that video on there for reference as well. The slides that I used today will be up there. Some of the stuff from the slides is on this card. And so I really appreciate y'all being here today. And thank you again. Sorry I went on my Facebook tirade. But
Apple Pay, because sometimes when you're going along and like it comes up on your phone and you didn't mean it to.
yeah, it's because you probably are double tapping the side button. It's automatically mapped because if I double tap it right now, it comes up, see? And so if you double tap it, it comes up. Just be sure not to go next to a reader and do that, or you'll pay for something that you didn't want to pay for. But there again, Apple Pay is actually really, really great and it's really secure. And the same thing with Google Pay and a couple of the other encrypted pay methods. It actually comes up with a unique card number every time you pay for something. So nobody can steal that information or steal your money for you. So Apple Pay is actually really cool. PayPal, it's PayPal. It's okay. They got a lot of work to do. They have some things that they need to secure and stuff like that. It's still a good way to pay for stuff, but it's not necessarily nearly as easy as something like Apple Pay.
Okay, since
Oh, here we go. Here we go.
you know, I've seen these things on TV where, I could have bought this thing for $350, but I got 49 cents. I just wonder if anybody's ever bought anything from that place.
What's that one?
It's on TV. If it's on
It's up on TV. It's got to be true, right?
They couldn't say if it was.
You know, I have wondered about that, though. I've been like,
I know, it's just,
does that actually work? I mean, it's got to be a scam, right?
when you, at some point, where does the FTC come in to stuff like that?
Well, see, that's the thing, is that you've only got to comply with a certain number of things with the FTC, and then you can say whatever you want to after that, on a certain number of those things. Oh, we're covered on the law on this A, B, and C, and as long as we don't say D, we're good to go. It's just one of those types of things, those hoops that they can get around, you know. And I don't doubt that maybe one person has got a brand new TV for $4.90, right? I don't doubt that that's happened maybe once, but it's not a regular thing, right? Yeah, those ads kill me. Absolutely kill me.
So I already have Vizio TVs.
It's okay, I got one too, somewhere. But the thing is, I don't ever allow my TVs to connect to the internet. Does that make sense? I don't care for them to update from the day I buy them. They're not computers, even though they try to be. I do not use the built-in apps to watch things like on Apple TV or Prime Video or anything like that. I will always have a little box, like an Apple TV or a Roku or something like that I use attached to the TV that's attached to the internet. But I'd never allow my TVs to hook to the internet. So if they're not hooked to the internet, then if you don't turn the Wi-Fi on them, then you don't have to worry about that kind of stuff.
My last question, who do you use for TV service?
I don't have TV service. Well, technically I do. I have YouTube TV. And there again, that's a Google service, Google-owned service. They have tons of data about what I view, right? So
Where do you get your internet?
CPWS is where I get my internet from. It's the best deal in Columbia.
Not CPWS. They quit.
I don't know what you're talking about because my internet at home worked this afternoon.
Still through CPWS.
Yes, ma'am. I think you're thinking of email.
Yes.
They are not doing email anymore.
That's it.
They're very much doing their co-op internet service to people because you can make a lot of money off of that, and they have. But it's $60 a month for a gig speed. It's amazing. And they will come out in 45 minutes and fix it if it's wrong. And it's on my utility bill. It's the greatest. And for a nerd like me, they literally told me, hey, I said, hey, what kind of equipment do y'all provide? And they say, we don't give you any equipment. We'll bring the copper to your house and then you've got to figure it out from there. Which I love because then I can configure it however I want to. But a service like AT&T is going to charge you double of what CPWS would do, promise the speed and then not deliver it, and make you use their equipment. I just love CPWS because it's a local company too. It's really good. But yeah, they're not doing email anymore. You're absolutely right about that. Yeah, if your contract with AT&T or Spectrum or any of that is up, you should definitely look into CPWS. It's really, really good.
And that's for your what?
That's for your internet at home, your internet service, Wi-Fi. And, I could preach again and again about getting rid of your landline phones. This is a plug just to get rid of your landline phones. You don't need them. You really don't need them. The cell phones are twice as dependable.
You couldn't say that 2 weeks ago. When all the cell phones went down.
So one of the cell phones was down. However, I will debate that with you all day long because a phone service goes out all the time, in my neighborhood at least. Landline phone service does. And the big kicker for me is that landline phones are twice as likely to get spam phone calls as a cell phone is for some reason. That's the kicker for me.
They're trying to go out with them.
But if you think about it, if your power goes out, all your phones are cordless now, unless you've got one of those old ring phones, right? The rotary phones, right? They don't even allow you to use those anymore, I don't think. Unless you've got one of those, the power goes out, your phone's out. But if I've got my cell phone,
They will take a message if I'm not at home from George's doctor,
that's right.
and then I can call him back.
That's right. And that's a very good reason for you to keep yours. Absolutely.
He's gone now.
But Jerry, the thing about that is, that I say is one of those things, it's very difficult to tell me that was AT&T's fault, if you know what I mean.
Mine didn't go out for 2 days after the fact.
Mine was out for 4 hours that day. It was kind of crazy. Yeah, those can, there's a bunch of those, and some of those are pretty effective. I think I have No Mo Robo is the one that I have. No more robocalls, and I have that one. That one's really cool. My car insurance payment ones have stopped altogether. So yeah, there's plenty more for us to talk about. Y'all want to come back and do this in a couple more months? Okay, let's come back and do this in a couple more months, maybe when the summer's over with, and we'll revisit everything again. But thank y'all again very much for being here, listening to me blab about stuff. We'll see y'all later.